really cool for you to come out and do this with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
Do you live out here? You still live in England?
No, I
or?
wish I did. No, I live in England. Work in London. Country boy traditionally, and went to London for 25 years, and then I've kind of gone back.
Awesome.
To being a country boy again, but
Full circle.
Yeah.
That's always
now
the
I'm
best.
a commuter, so I kind of like drive early in the morning. So yeah, it works out fine. I do a fair bit of traveling, but since the kids, I've tried to like control it a bit.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we both have. My daughter just turned 3, and his son is about to turn 3
next month. Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely.
You're in the nice stage.
That's fun.
It's a beautiful stage.
I hear that.
But it's a stage where it's like I want to start traveling less.
Yeah. They do know. I thought it didn't matter. It does. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I was telling him last night. I had to recently just tell. I had to make a new rule because I'll do a lot of work from home at this point, and I'm on the phone all the time, but I'm home at least. And I always thought like, well, as long as I'm here, my daughter, that should be good enough. And she's now at the age where I was like, hold on 1 second, baby, hold on. And she goes, Dada, what's wrong? You don't want to play with me? I told my wife that night, I'm like, I'm not taking calls while she's home. Yeah. I'm going to be like, hey, Dad's got to run to the store to get milk. I'll go sit in the car and take a call. But I won't do it now.
Yeah. Being present either way that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's hard. You've got to train yourself out of that. So easily to be distracted, isn't it, by the tablet or the phone or whatever.
It is, especially when you already have a life before your kid comes around. Yeah. It's like there's already a status quo on how you're supposed to,
100%.
How you do it.
Just business is now just on your phone, so you can't get away from it. It's just there,
24/7.
Yeah.
Speaking of business, are we rolling? Should we get started? Awesome. Well, Chef, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
It's really, really awesome and exciting. I know for both of us, but as a chef myself, it's super exciting to sit down and to meet you and to chat and to really, Chef's Table just came out.
Yep.
I've known about you for. Let's see. I started 20. I'm at year 20 now cooking. And so, the better part of 2 decades, but I felt like, I just watched, your episode of Chef's Table, and I feel like there's so much I had like no idea.
26 years ago.
Yeah. And I just, loved, like, how did you, we learned a little bit about, your parents, had a pub, but like, how did you know, because like most kids want to rebel against what their parents do. How did you know, and when did you know, like how did you get started in being like, this is what I'm going to do?
I just think like, I thought normal was living in a pub, right? So you're in a village, like the pub's the center of the village. We lived upstairs. Downstairs is, the pub that you could probably predict from the films, just loads of locals. Pubs are interesting because without question, it's the most democratic place on earth. Like everyone is welcome. Like everyone, every class, creed, type, like it's normal, welcome, right? So you don't have any hierarchy. It's not like a bar. It's not like a restaurant. It's not even like a diner. It's a pub. It's quite unique. And so it's kind of like a glorified youth club / home surrounded by booze, and lit fires. And so you kind of grow up around people, play in the village. It was kind of like a, Stand By Me kind of childhood, like super rustic, good friends, BMXs, walkie-talkies.
Hopefully a little less murder.
Yeah, tiny bit less murder. I think as I grew up, not doing very well at school, struggling at school from dyslexia and just not being able to get anything in my head down on paper, more and more so working at the weekend for my dad and my mum became more important. Not for any deep reasons, just like the idea of like getting £1.20 an hour. And back in the day before, internet, like we had catalogs. So, you'd go through and you'd be after like some sick sneakers. So my first pair of trainers was Puma Dallas, navy blue, light blue tick, or whatever you call it. And it was like, I think they're $12.99, and like you put the cash in an envelope, tick the box of the number, send it off. They get it a week later. Then they package it up. You get it 3 weeks later. It's so slow.
That's his version of CCS.
It's like, but I did have sick trainers, and it was that, it was, but yeah, it was just pocket money, but more to the point, kids are just brilliant. Kids are just like all kids. They're so capable, and you guys know as well, like whether it's dancing or skateboarding or like BMXing or ballet or jiu-jitsu, like the capacity for technical young is high. The only difference, and there shouldn't be a difference, because like everyone knows that like doing any sort of sport or like that is dangerous, but some reason kitchens have a kind of taboo, like hot oil, hot water, sharp knives. It's like it's not actually more dangerous than jumping some mad jump.
I would say skateboarding is more dangerous.
Yeah, I
don't know anyone who like broke their pelvis in the kitchen. You know?
Yeah.
Not that it can't happen, but it
doesn't happen very often
somehow.
Yeah. So kids aren't really promoted in the kitchen, and I think somewhat wrapped in cotton wool. But it was beautiful, just learning to butcher, use a knife properly. By the time I was about 14, I'd probably gone through the cycle of the kitchen 3 times. So veg section, meat section, sauce, starters, desserts. Nothing was bought in. So like I grew up around machines making Italian meringue and pouring hot syrup in, and Yorkshire puddings coming out the oven, and big four ribs of beef aging in the fridge.
So it sounds like it wasn't much of like it wasn't like chores your parents had you do. It seems like something that you loved.
Yeah.
And it was just life, right?
It was illegal working, frankly.
Yeah.
Like, and because kids aren't really allowed to work, but like kids from the village all worked in my dad's pub, and they all developed their personal skills that are with them to this day. Like we used to get kids that couldn't talk, like literally wouldn't say boo to a goose, and they just say, "Trevor, please help my daughter." Like she's basically mute. I mean, not really mute, but like just shy. Yeah. And we put her on the buffet talking to customers for 3 services. She was like Mrs. Chatterbox. So, it's just it's just a brilliant way a safe, comfortable way to, and then at the end of the shift, you put your hours down and you go in the till and they give you your cash. And I always had 20 quid in my pocket. And it was a very free childhood. But I didn't really, basically when I felt like a loser at school, thick, dumb, stupid, couldn't really get any positive reinforcement on anything. It was the complete opposite at work.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God, that's really good, well done. And like, even if it was a perfectly poached egg, like, and that was going on a warm salad. Like I was digging warm salads at like 12. It's like, beautiful, interesting leaves, a classic French dressing, some interesting lentils, and like a poached egg, and some, like, so it's kind of like, I mean, it's not normal, isn't it? Let's be honest. But but I do think it's a testament to like just kids are amazing, and we shouldn't try and box them in to be, or protect, let them try things.
Yeah. So it seems like, you've obviously, there's so many chefs who like, we've all been like, okay, now that I'm starting to make it, I want to give back. Right. And so many people have had that idea, not done it. Maybe they've dabbled in it, but it's like, there's not a lot of, I don't know how you make money and give it, like, there's so many things that will like hold people back. Do you feel like, and obviously you've dedicated, like, as I've learned recently, you've dedicated like a large amount of your career to that.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from? Do you think it comes from like your dad being the guy who they would send the mute girl to? Like, do you feel like that? Like, where do you get this drive to want to?
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes I wonder if I'm a bit weird, but we're
all a bit weird.
I just I fall in love with people, and I fall in love with effort, and like I've got a very, very strong moral compass, like right and wrong. I'm really good at listening and seeing both sides of the story, and I try not to talk about things unless I've experienced it physically, which gives me a better perspective, and I get really emotionally connected to things. So, it's kind of, I never knew I was like that, by the way, not until because when I went from basically being a skint chef to selling like 1.5 million books in no time. So like literally like zeros on my bank account. I'm like, Jesus.
That's wild.
And it was like, and I was a young lad. it's like 25 or
Just
something.
like
It's like
overnight,
a million
pretty
quid
much.
in the bank. It's like, you're kidding me.
Wild.
And it's a weird one because obviously it's exciting. That the obvious emotions, like, yeah, but they just push those aside. It's like, I didn't really feel like I earned it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't £1.20 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and but then you had to start processing that actually it's a true vote. So it's not, a lot of the votes that we see on social these days, particularly likes and comments, they're all free, so they kind of mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And even the capacity for just being a bitch is just so easy, and it's like kind of just unfiltered thoughts. And it's like, but I think like buying a book is like something, and I really quickly learned that the public was my boss. So I felt that heavy quickly. I didn't really know what to do with it. And then, and no one believed me at the time, certainly journalists. But I promise you it's true. I was uncomfortable with the zeros.
Okay.
And so I literally spent all of it. I mean, I was actually minus a couple of £100,000, which
Wild.
I wasn't bankrupt, but technically I was. And I got another royalty check that saved my ass. And
What did you do? Just like
I set up 15, which is basically like a badass, cool restaurant in an equivalent of like Meatpacking District, New York. And I just basically put it out to kids, troubled kids that had have a rough time.
So you financed the restaurant?
Everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wild.
to minus 200.
Wow.
And before I'd even opened it. And they say, well, why did you do it? It's a marketing ploy. I didn't even know what bloody marketing was. Strategy. I didn't even know what strategic was.
Yeah, for the record, most people don't invest all of their money and then some on a marketing strategy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I was definitely stupid and naive. But the reason I did it is because I wanted to, I could, and I did.
and you
Yeah.
believed in it.
And
as
I was
well.
just a kid, right?
Yeah.
And so then, retrospectively, sort of makes me very cautious to not trust young people. I think like being there is genius to being wise and experienced and conservative and pragmatic, but that can also be like boring. So we have to read between the lines of both, I think. And I think certainly young Jamie at 20, I think I was 26 when I started.
That's when you opened 15.
Maybe younger. I can't remember. I'm just like, fuck it, I'm doing it. And I literally like, my dad was furious. He was like, because he couldn't quite understand what had happened anyway. Didn't really, like his mantra was you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. So like if they're broken kids, they're broken, like kind of lock them up, throw away the key sort of vibes. So, that was, but Dad had taught me so well, and his moral compass and his values and his work ethic were phenomenal, as were my mum's. But we just pulled these kids, quite a lot of them, a large proportion of them. My instinct was this, right? 2/3 kids, basically ex-cons / homeless, and then like 1/3 kids that are just sort of lost, and then. That's the genius, by the way. So the genius is creating a team that you train, a cohort, that aren't all from the same backgrounds and the same pain and the same troubles, because their ebb and flow, their vibe is the same. So when it goes high, that's tough. And when it goes low, that's tough. So what you want is kind of opposites. You want to undulate those vibes. And that's what you do by having kind of like a bit of age difference, a bit of cultural ethnicity diversity, and some class difference. And I know no one likes talking about class, but I don't know, like middle class, upper class, like working class, like whatever, but you get it, right? So I had some middle class kids in there and a bunch of sort of inner city kids from council estates. And that was the genius. It was the choosing. And then we put infrastructure around them, which was just like, I guess, mentors.
And it all kind of balances itself out.
And then you give them second and third chances unconditionally.
Yeah.
And then you show them what diligent, extraordinary artisans look like. And it doesn't matter if it's food, an ingredient, or it could be a carpenter or a glassmaker or anything. And like just the context of an artisan is so as a chef, and you know the drill, right? So you just, like, we went hard on like going to source, relationships, and not just buying the best stuff, but collaborating with producers to like, there might be like waste that's coming out of their product that we'll take, and then, or can we have that cheese like slightly less aged for a different product because the fat splits out when you put it through the oven, and we'll keep that for room temperature eating and that for cooking, and like not sure, dude, just can I have it like 4 months younger? And it's like, I can sell shit 4 months before. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there's cash flow, right? It's all tied up in a cellar. So like when we take our young people and show them people that live and die for that thing, they were like found it so curious, and because they're proper ghetto, like violent crime, drugs, naughty, and somehow, and then the trouble was always drug based. Generally, I'm generalizing, but I think it's fair to say that, and it was generally family, like feral family, shitty uncles, aunties. I never really understood. I never understood that. I never understood a parent could be jealous of a child. We had a lot of students where the parents would lose them for 3 months, and the little kids would come back like buzzing. Mom, you never guess what? Like almost like with the beginnings of the aspiration to sort of like come out of like the ghetto, like get out finally. And I'm not exaggerating. Like I'm sort of, and then the parents would clamp down and say, no, I don't want you doing this course, like because they love them running down to the corner shop and getting a bottle of gin. Do you know what I mean? So it was like I never thought emotion of jealousy from a mother to a child could happen. I've seen it, and so that was a huge education to me. But about 9 months in, we used to go to this one place in Italy every year, Giovanni Minetti Fontodi. Like he makes arguably one of the best red wines in Italy, Sassicaia, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's a Fontodi, Flaccinello, right? And my young people used to they'd meet him, see his kindness, genuine kindness. They'd see how he dressed and how he presented himself. They'd see his cellar and his winemaking, and then they'd drink the wine. And then there'd be, and I know this sounds cheesy, but it is true, and it happened every year. And it was like hairs on the back. They would realize finally then 9 months in that consistency was exactly what life was all about. Just repeat. Like don't be erratic. Don't be genius here and wild there. Like consistency is how he made that product. Yeah. And you can't be an arsehole and make that product. It's just not part of it. And he was like early into biodynamics, which I don't want to go too rogue on your chat, but like biodynamics is essentially planting and harvesting with the moon cycles. So historically people write it off as witchcraft, but it's just water tables, right? So you have a high tide, you have a low tide. So, you know, you prune as it's low because you don't want it to weep and promote disease, right? You plant on the moon up, right? So it's just working, it's just sinking in. Like, so he's that deep. So,
which again, you can't be an asshole and actually talk to your plants.
Yeah. And anyone that's genius at product, and as you know, like any great food producer is always an incredible human. Yeah. So imagine my young people just getting like littered. In. So, and it wasn't just Giovanni. There was probably like 40 of those people.
So you were also you were exposing these kids to fantastic role models, or at least people that they could say, "Wow, this isn't very like look where this guy or this lady is in their life. I would want to be like them."
Yeah, and just second and third and fourth chances. And it's funny. I never forget. Like it took me about 3 years to realize, because I thought on graduation day we used to graduate about 80% of our young people. And you get all the parents in, and you do an award ceremony. They'd all get one of these. Right? It's a little dog tag. So every 15 graduate, 489 of them have got one of these. And I got, oh my God! I just in my head going, I thought there was all these single dads, like because they're obviously one of the patterns, which is a true pattern in this country and mine, is like just dads that are not there. Yeah. And there was all these dads there, and I'm like getting quite choked up, and I'm like, fuck, this is amazing. But it took 3 years to realize it was parole officers. And no one ever gives cred to parole officers. Like, honestly, parole officers that notice kids would push them onto me. Oh, yeah. And then I get to know them, obviously, because you can't have the same dad coming back every year. Like,
how many kids do you have?
Prolific. How many? You got 30 kids? But no, I kind of, like these jobs in society that you never give credit to, like they don't just service like wrong-uns. Like there are parole officers that role models. They're doing it for a reason, and they spot ones with hope, like glimmers of hope, and then they try and offset them somewhere where they might just change the path.
That's super inspirational that you did all this for the kids.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was born. It was quite organic. Huh? Yeah. I mean, I think it was. I think my pub mentality, which is a village mentality, which is essentially like reduced.
It's a meritocracy.
Yeah,
Bring
it's
community
yeah.
in.
So I tried to create a community in that, and we did, and we did it very well for 17 years, and it's definitely the best thing I ever did. But 40-year-old Jamie wouldn't have done it, right?
Yeah.
because I'm too boring and too.
Well, you got to be young
conservative.
and a little bit dumb.
Yeah,
and
I was wild. I'm not wild, but
yeah.
like I was just stupid enough, which is a gift sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you believed in something, and
Yeah,
you
all
did
in,
what it.
all in,
Yep, just everything in.
with lots to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you were 25, 26 when you opened it. Was that your first executive? It's obviously your first owner job, but was that your first executive chef
Yeah,
job?
I'd had one
or-
job before.
Yeah.
Where I'd kind of taken over Sheikh Mohammed's old building, and that's the king of Dubai. Before you ask, as you do, so random. I took over an old posh club, and Pierre Kaufman used to run it. So the kitchen, I've never had a better kitchen, by the way.
Yeah.
Like Rourke ovens, like £1 million worth of kitchen.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? It was just sat there empty. And so what they got to lose. So they just before I did that, they I did that for 2 years, and that was cool. So we basically turned a posh old club into sort of like a young kid's kind of brasserie. I had a small budget, and I spent all of it taking off 10 layers of varnish, so it looked less kind of like posh, and we took it down to be a bit more kind of like Tuscan vibes. But
Dope.
yeah.
It is funny how we do. Every generation tears down, or covers up the last generation. What was cool then.
Yeah.
And now we're at the place where it's like, let's strip back and see the original walls and go back to the, So at 15, so you had 15 cooks at a time.
Yeah.
And then how long? So you said you graduated. How long were they there for?
14 months all in.
Okay.
And so, and each one would cost about 25 grand to train. So that's at the start of our year, we had like a 15 times 25 deficit. So the profits from the restaurant covered about half of that, 3/4. And then I'd have to fundraise for the rest and like do like a posh night and,
Yeah.
auctions and, and that kind of worked. Well, it always worked.
Were all 15 kids start at the same time and then end,
Yeah.
and then you have a new semester?
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, I would think, just selfishly for myself, I would be like, well, let me keep a couple of them as the sous chef for the next group.
You
so
had a
don't-
bit of that. You had a bit of that. But we didn't encourage that. We'd only have them stay back if they were lacking in confidence, so that we just like polish them up a bit before we place them. But we had no problems placing them. They all got jobs straight away. They were all well trained, and people were like just gagging for them. So we were distributing them to some of the hottest restaurants in town.
When I had the same, sort of experience with, I came up through like, all the Michelin starred restaurants. That was my training. And when I opened my first restaurant, I was actually 25, 26. And
It's young though. It's very young.
Yeah. But I'm glad I did, because I did a lot of things I wouldn't do today, or I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. And but I always wanted to hire people. I never quite went that route, but I always wanted to hire people who, it was more important to me that you were excited to be here than that you had any training at all.
Yeah.
And I felt like as a young chef, it was almost easier to work with people who had no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to break any sort of,
Well, you have to know how to handle shit. If you get like an arrogant chef that knows best, and the amount of chefs the amount of talented chefs I've fired for just being assholes, like, not interested. Just see ya. Like we all want great chefs, but not at that cost, So I think also like setting that tone where it's a very inclusive kitchen. We're always fighting for 50-50 men and women. So, and we try and get close, but obviously getting women to be comfortable in the kitchen is and still is a challenge for the industry.
Is. Yeah.
So, we would be over-indexing a lot, but if we can get to 30-40%, we'd be winning. But again, it's not just a nice environment. You've got to be flexible for obvious reasons, especially if they got kids. But definitely that's the sweet spot. Definitely. But yeah, having a nice, happy crew makes all the difference.
For sure. People that get along too.
Yeah, and also when you really understand food, like there isn't a right or the wrong. It's either good or it's not good, right?
Yeah.
And so like, do you know what I mean? Like the context and conceit is everything.
As long as you get to good at the end result,
Yeah.
you're good.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
if you go around Italy and you eat the best food on the planet and you watch the nonnas, the grandmothers cook,
Yeah.
like often they're like using their calloused thumbs,
Yeah.
which are normally blackened by sort of artichokes and sort of oxidation.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're using a shit plastic knife that's the wrong knife for the job and cutting towards themselves.
Yeah.
Massive wrong. And then they cut everything badly. And you're like, well, how can badly be wrong if badly so delicious? So then you look at kind of our training, which is like Brunoise, Macedone, Paysanne, Julienne. It's like it's very specific.
Yep.
And then you get a bollocking if it's not exactly like there's a ruler and you're measuring it. So the nonnas, and of course what you get is you get texture and mush,
Yeah.
which equals texture and flavor.
Yeah.
So as opposed to just proficiency, which is proficient.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think like the nonnas in Italy and the Mediterranean definitely like changed my
I love that.
philosophy. Well, I think the philosophy is more inclusive because it means you can love everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I got loads of respect for the Michelin gang. I think it's incredible that it's like a different genre of music.
It is. Yeah.
But they still have to eat when they get home. They still have to, or want to go to diners. They still love pizzas and burgers. So it's a beautiful world.
Yeah. Yeah, we had some hole-in-the-wall Thai last night.
Oh, yeah, so
That's
good.
so good. While you're here, there's a place called Rune Pair.
Rune Pear.
Rune
Yeah.
Pair. RUENPAIR. If you have any time to grab some food. It's like, I think it's the best Thai in LA.
It's
Really?
like stuff you've never tried before. Like
Yeah.
very exotic dishes and
Wow.
raw dishes, raw
Yeah, I need to
salads
open my mind to more of that. I'm sort of under-indexing in my Thai experiences, but like I got a busy day today. But we've got an event for Chef's Table, and the director Brian is kind of taking me on like a pub crawl.
Oh, really?
But, kind of like hole in the wall crawl. So
be fun.
or at least that's how he's just. Maybe we go. I don't know where we're going, but so he's going to educate me today. So you never know.
Yeah, LA is, I grew up here, and LA has, and I've argued with everyone forever, LA has the best, in my opinion, like the best hole-in-the-wall ethnic cuisine.
Yeah,
Because we have every type of cuisine, and LA is just so massively big. And obviously the biggest, argument is like, well, New York City has, better. But it's like, but the size of New York City, you could fit 100 of them in LA, And so, yeah, but if he's going to take you out tonight, is he from here?
I actually don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. But all I know is he's going to take me after this event, and then it's on the way. I've got like 4 hours to get to the airport.
Oh,
So-
are you flying tonight?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
he's basically like,
Busy day.
I mean, he's probably going to load me into that airport, like off my head on tequila, I'm guessing.
There you go. There you
Stuffed
go.
with all kinds of incredible tacos and bits and pieces. Like, let's see. I've got Adam Perry Lang, who's one of my dear friends, who does these incredible barbecue
Yep.
pop-ups. I'm sure you've
Yep.
seen it.
Oh, I've
like-
seen him.
And he's
Yeah,
like,
wow.
come by, man. And if you can't come by, I'm going to give you this, like, to-go bags. I'm not going to get on that plane and everyone's going to be smelling.
His barbecue's
like,
unreal.
Yeah, his barbecue's insane.
Yeah.
I've seen his videos.
Yeah.
They're insane.
I mean, he's a classic example of a Michelin-trained chef gone
Just doing
fire.
his thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we worked together. We started Barbacoa together,
On the way.
and which was a killer restaurant. And he's an extraordinary cook. I mean, he's like if you could put the most ninja chef, and you just put him with Perry Lang for like half an hour, and it's like different place. It's sort of like it's like visceral caveman sort of
Yeah.
like kind of. He just kind of cuts through the bullshit and gets to sort of breakdown of tissues and
Yeah.
collagen and the right smoke and licks of flame and just
He
like
definitely,
he's another-
of someone who doesn't have a barbecue spot in Texas, he like his brisket is like
Yeah.
no, but I mean,
Well, I saw him last night. He's the happiest he's ever been.
Yeah.
And he does these pop-ups.
Yeah.
And he's just like geeking out on books and then just doing barbecue that makes him happy with
Yeah.
no rules. Because there's quite a lot of hierarchy and rules around
Yeah.
barbecue.
For sure.
But if you truly love, like, you don't have to give a shit about it. That's all bullshit.
you just
Yeah.
cook what
Yeah,
you
it's
want.
just-
People
food
trying to
looks
put you in a frame
insane.
again. It's like, is it good or is it good? Is
Yeah.
it with love or is it not with love? It's like, get over yourself. So, I mean, I think again, he's got to a place where he's playing by his rules. So it's lovely to see my friends and colleagues kind of, we're all hitting the same sort of age.
Do your own
You know,
thing. kinda.
45 to 50.
Yeah.
Mate, I think this is what we're supposed to be doing at this
sure.
stage.
Well, you should be enjoying yourselves.
Yeah, I think so. And also, like, I feel in all the right ways, like, keep your eyes open for young talent and try and see myself at 25 and 30 and like see the keenness and like the good ones, because they do need support from their older. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think mentoring is really important.
I feel like you spend your time kind of like building yourself and building your skills and stuff, and then after you go through kind of like all of the like education and building restaurants and stuff, now like at your 40s, it's like you get to like come back to like the original day where it's like just creativity and kind of doing what you want to do.
I think so. But also I think at 45, 50, the visceral pain that you felt from the last 2 decades.
The building, yeah.
Like you're very protective because you see yourself in lots of other, like if there's dudes out there from any background, if you see the effort in code, you see yourself.
Yeah.
And then you don't want them to have to go through, because they don't have to go through all the shit. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, you
I
could try to help
Yeah,
mentor
I
them.
could definitely have done without half. I mean, I know that like mistakes shape you, and I know we need to be resilient, and I know we need to dust down. But like, I definitely didn't need to make quite so many.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a few of them you
I could have
yeah.
been. I would have been happier with like minus 50%.
Yeah.
I think. Like, so I think your percentage. I used to be 70-30. Yeah, 70% of what I do works. 30% fails. I think I'm like 60-40 now, the other way around. But like I think 50-50 is acceptable.
Yeah.
Like try and keep it like, you know, on the bright side. But hey ho.
I think being able to have conversations about, you know, the mistakes and the problems that we had growing up definitely will help mentor the youth,
Yeah.
you know, and help them make less problems than
Well,
all of us.
Well, it's an interesting one, right? I mean, it's potentially why you guys are doing this. I mean, like men, like Brits, you know, Americans, like often I say stuff that went wrong, and I'm kind of fine with it, and people are so surprised you're okay being fine about failure. And it's like, no, like this is all part of the process. But I think not only is it fine, but like just men need to share more.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
and be more honest. And I think like the sort of natural drug of, you know, hormones, ego, and alpha male vibes, like you got to like keep that in check, whether it's your good partner or the people you surround yourself with, or do you know what I mean? I know we're all different, but like the worst thing is when a fella thinks they have to be a certain way,
Yeah.
which is the wrong way.
And that's kind of the, I mean, that is kind of the entire purpose of this podcast really, is to like to talk to people who have like found success and to be able to inspire those, you know, who are looking to find success.
Big time.
And really it's not so like nowadays it's like, you know, get in a cold plunge, do this, do that. But it's more about what I think I found, and what we've talked about a lot, is we found it's not so much about necessarily what you do, it's about how you deal with the adversity along the way.
Yeah.
And the ability to, you know, I've had to, you know, like you, I've had to close restaurants. I've had the media, you know, write terrible things about me. I've had nights where I was, you know, crying in the shower, thinking my life is over, wanting to give up. And then, but like, how do you, like, what's the mindset that it like takes to actually just like wipe away the tears and say, you know, fuck you, world. There's not a damn chance I'm going to give up. And that is sort of what we found is, you know, sort of taking people on that, you know.
Big time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really, really important that the modern day man is accepting to be vulnerable.
For sure.
It's so important. Like, if you think it's about just facing up and wanting to like win and fight and be tough, oh my goodness, it's just like, don't even go there. Like it's you know, I think being vulnerable is really, really important. It's like went away to Tuscany with some of the lads, which is a very rare thing in my life. And there's like 8 of us, and we got a green card from our wives. I can't tell you how essential that break was for every man on that trip, just to be amongst other guys.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, every single one shed a tear because
Wow.
stuff that mattered, they had no one to talk to. So I think even being a good friend, like that's one thing, but I think like there's another gear, and I think that is just and it's a funny thing. I think with men, because we're a bit more like dogs, you kind of like, I think like the one I said a few words at that trip, and it's like a few things, private things were said that's not my position to share, but like
Mm-hmm.
they were bad. And it's just like, okay, as of now, we're all busy. But as of now, if anyone here calls at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning,
Yeah.
and needs help now, like we're getting in a car, we're going 3-4 hours away.
Hell yeah.
The week gets cancelled no matter what, even if it's a
Mhm.
big gig. Fuck it. So and I think like everyone went,
Mhm.
because I think like the result of bottling it up could have ended in
Yeah.
death, right?
Well, I think
and,
that's what
I think it's like suicide still, like certainly for like 40-year-olds, is still the biggest killer of men, right? So I think, and like look, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's just my world.
yeah.
sure.
And these are guys that are like living nice lives and like pretty tranquilo.
But I think what happens, with men is like we live our whole childhood and our teenage years in a small village with a gang of our guys, and then as we find success, as we get married, as we start our families, as we start our careers, you sort of separate from that group a little bit. And so being able to at an older age sort of find another village and have one, I think is, I'm lucky to have sort of that in my own life. And yeah, I can relate to like having that sort of, because when you're 15, your buddy calls you and you'll stop whatever you're doing to go help him with no matter what.
Yeah.
But when you're 35 and your kids are crying and you got to, make the mortgage and it's oftentimes very difficult. And it's even more difficult to make that call because your friend, has that going on.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like skateboarding. It's like when you're a kid, you have a huge crew surrounding you. There's like a brotherhood. As you get older, and if you continue to skate at like a professional level, or even not a professional level, but you continue to skate, but then you have like normal responsibilities, kids, houses, bills, this, that, the other, you're more isolated by yourself. So you hold more stuff in, and there's not really that brotherhood of like sharing how you feel,
I think it's, yeah. I kind of feel, I don't know if you're the same, that we're only sort of starting to openly talk about it in the last sort of 5 years. It feels like there's a lot more to go.
for sure.
And
Well, the pendulum was very far,
yeah.
and it's got quite a bit of ways to
I
go.
think that with the concept of embarrassment and failure and shame in certain contexts, so that you keep it all to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? But I mean, like, but also I think like but that also based on when you're getting to a certain age, like one of the most beautiful things about I'm 50 in a month. So like in my head, I'm still like 25. But
Let's
like,
go. Yeah.
Still laugh at the same shit.
Well,
jokes.
50,
It's like,
50's a new 25.
But yeah, I think like if what's beautiful is you can see someone that you've known for a few decades, and like you just like nod, and you're like you literally only have to say a few words, and you've got like a whole like chapter said, because it's all based around trust. Like you don't have to explain anything because I trust you. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like last night I had a little dinner and there was like 7 people there that I just adore, and like so much water under the bridge. And that's the beautiful thing of life, isn't it? When you kind of got like a handful of people that you've had a lot of experience with. You don't see them very often, right?
So many years, yeah.
Yeah. So that definitely feels like the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Not when you invest in relationships, and and you're not erratic.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it always is great to see someone like when you can feel like immediately you can just pick up where you left off, and you haven't seen them in 5 years or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
So okay, so you were kind of getting back to your story a little bit. So you're 25, 26 when you open 15, and you spend more than all of your money doing it. What sort, like, where do you, like, what was the next thing for you? Like, I mean, obviously you went on to do so much. What was the driving force to get you from there into like, school lunches? Like, what was that?
I think it's like, because like when I set up 15 and it was called Jamie's Kitchen. It's a really good little documentary, really. Because it was really like a snapshot of youth today. Really, the documentary was about second chances. And if you're given a second chance, do you take it? That's essentially what the doc was about. And then that kind of did very well. And press kind of loved it on the whole. So then just people like, because I'm in that place now, and I'm getting closer to sort of like inner city London, and like I guess kids that come from split homes, and like the trouble that would get kids into prison, like naturally I'm talking about kids more.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time in Britain there wasn't really apprenticeships happening.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of stopped. So 15 was an apprenticeship, and then you go and do a red carpet and stuff, which I used to do in those days for some reason. And people just ask you, random questions. And a lot of the journos were asking about, like, what do you think about school dinners? Because everyone was saying how bad they are.
Wow.
And I just kept chirping up, they're not very good. It's a shame. And my dad just said, look, actions speak louder than words. If they're not good, go and fix it. So okay, but go and do that then. So then
that's such a dad thing to say.
Yeah, well, it's true, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's sort of like, like have your own opinion in private, but don't say it on a mic to a journalist and then
not do something
yeah,
about it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's but I wasn't anti doing something because I already had a maybe I don't think it was cocky, but like I kind of felt like I was getting things right. I was getting things like 15 was so right. My natural instincts were so right. And I thought, right, cool, I'll take over a secondary school. So we took over like the first comprehensive school in Britain that was opened by an ex-prime minister, and like in a really like fairly rough area, where there'd just recently been like quite a few sort of murders and stabbings and stuff of children. It was pretty tasty.
Wow.
And we took it, I think it was like 1,800 kids. So that was school dinners basically. And we did that as a documentary. It ran about 18 months. And I was very engaged by it.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up taking over, I think it was like 30 odd schools in the area.
Were you
And,
always into like kind of like providing healthier food for like
not really.
people and stuff?
No, I wasn't. I was never political,
Mm-hmm.
and I was never an activist. But like I said when we first started talking, like that moral compass is unusually tuned with me. It's quite a painful burden to have because it affects me so much.
Just kind of like
Sometimes
guided you
I avoid things
organically.
because I know it's going to just like make me sad and then have to react. And so I was on this next journey, but also because I was exposing myself to things I'd never seen before, I was learning at a rate of knots about inner city London. And this was through now the school, through breakfast clubs and lunches, and then like the context of free school lunch kids. And certain areas would have up to sort of like 50, 60, 70% free school lunches. And for context, for your listeners, like in the UK, if you're on a free school lunch, your family, not your dad or mum, your family has to earn less than £7,400 a year as a household to get free school lunches. So that's, do the math.
Pretty low.
That's like they're really poor.
Yeah.
So those kids, and then you kind of see the kids come in and they have to queue up in a separate queue, and they just look like the poor kids. So there's a
And
whole.
were they getting different food than the paying kids?
No, but
Okay,
they
that's
still have to
good.
queue up and get a voucher, which made them look like sort of like
just not a
vulnerable.
good
and
feeling thing.
So like,
Yeah, they had that.
and they
one
were
around school.
unhealthy, and like American kids, they're just getting bigger and bigger and more unhealthy and more unhealthy and more sedentary and more sedentary. And at the same time, schools are selling off like football pitches to build like more houses, and schooling as the whole like is obsessed by math, science, and English, and really like music's fizzling, like sports fizzling. Like forget having cooking lessons. Are you
Nothing
kidding
to
me?
the food.
Yeah.
Like, but also as a dyslexic kid, like who tends to look at problems or scenarios differently. Like, if you look at America and Britain right now, right, what's hurting us? Like what's really hurting us? It's diet-related disease, obesity, and debt. So both things are not taught in school. So like I know with the power of 180 days a year in America, like not only could you like achieve so much by like a better food service, that's half a kid's nutrition for their whole childhood, by the way.
Yeah.
So if you do the math,
For
on
sure.
breakfast and lunch, 180 days of the year, it's like pretty much half a child's like calories in are controlled by the state. So you've got this incredible ability to sort of
set them up
Yeah,
for their
like
future.
you can be strategic and tactical, and not only that, if you're ninja about it, like it will affect what's planted and what's not wasted, and like just the kind of whole supply chain part is a piece of incredible like farming nutritional genius, right?
Yeah.
But then teach. I mean, I've actually this week, and this is a plug. I launched. It's free, so it's not a commercial thing. Like.
Feel free to plug anything.
Yeah,
you
well,
want.
so
please.
don't say that. I've got a long list. I'll just do this one. It's not commercial. It's we've launched this week in America 10 skills, right? So 10 skills is a polite version of what I created, which is 10 recipes to save your life.
Oh,
So they're 10 principal recipes, right? And these are like mothership recipes that can be bent and twisted based on your preference or your
Awesome.
vibes or your.
Is this
heritage.
online, or how do they?
Yeah, they can. And
Let's make sure we can put like a link to this or something
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, you find it online, and I'll give you all the links. And basically, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, or if it's Boys and Girls Club of America or an after-school club, like we built it for you. So basically, it's 10 principal recipes. It's an introduction to nutrition, and budgeting and stuff like that. And basically, if I had a dream, if I had a dream, if I had a wish, it would be that every 16-year-old kid in this country leaves school knowing how to cook 10 recipes to save their life.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Because
super
I know
rad,
as a father
Yeah.
that if that family, that future kid, that future parent, if they're poor, they're all right.
Yeah.
If they're rich, they're all right. If they're in the middle, they're all right. And as I've traveled around the world and eaten the best food has never come from rich communities, ever.
Yeah.
It's never been about fucking fillet steaks and foie gras. Never, ever. Like the genius of the human has always come from the capacity for a human to create something magical out of not much.
Yeah.
So therefore, the luxury and therefore the currency is knowledge. And it's the knowledge that we're not imparting in our American kids or British kids. So like I'm not good on financials, but there's a dude that I know that's amazing on financials. And I just wish that like 10 recipes, 10 skills, if that was for every school, I think the world would be a better place.
That would be
If we did
amazing.
the same on like setting up like your insurance and your bank accounts and compound investment and like even like 20 bucks.
I still don't know how
I
that
was
works.
talking
I
to him about
have
that
a whole
last
business.
night.
You know.
Well, it's basically like 20, just having the diligence of 20 quid a week going into a bank. And by the time you're 60, 70 years old, having $1 million.
Well,
right, that's the vibe.
School never teaches you any of that stuff. I was talking to Phillip last night. We were walking on the treadmill, just trying to get some steps in because
School
we were
should
traveling.
set up. You should set your project should be. And by the way, you shouldn't be allowed to get a mark, right? You have to pass.
Yeah.
If you're a nurse, as my second daughter is, and you're doing math in your training, you can't get 90%. You have to get 100.
You have to pass,
because
yeah.
people die.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm not exaggerating. Like if you look at the health stats of America, diet-related disease, you start tracking obesity, type 2 diabetes.
Yep.
You know, type 2 diabetes is a precursor to Alzheimer's. You know, it's all making sense now. We're learning all this stuff. So but funny enough, as a dyslexic kid who ran from school with with negative like vibes, I respect teachers more than ever. I respect the institution of school more than ever, but I do think it's time for a change.
Yeah, but maybe you wouldn't have run from it so much had they embraced the things that you feel it lacked.
Yeah.
You know, I thought one of the most moving things you said on the episode was when you said that it was investing in the future generation, not just a cost.
Yeah.
Because I believe in that fully, and I found that,
and it's
really,
real, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I sorry to interrupt you.
No, please.
So I'm not many things, and I failed maths, but you know, one of the tricks of being neurodiverse in any way is acknowledging your failures and then going around them. So the now president of Canada, right, Mark Carney, was head of the Bank of England, right? He, like, by the way, what a guy! Like legit to the hilt, bright as a button, and a good human, right? And he used to let his clever economist dudes like help me legitimize objectively that investing in kids' health makes money.
Yeah.
So even in little old Britain, by doing free school lunches, we're talking, I think it's like 18 billion over 20 years, and like made profit GDP. So
Wow.
when so
That's
so
awesome.
they have like legitimate ways of like, because essentially the cost of ill health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go into the cost of obesity,
Well, your
in a-
brain's going to work better. You're
Yeah.
going to be you're
yeah, I mean,
happier.
it's
You're going to be more productive. Everything.
yeah, it's big. So there's money to be saved. There's money to be made, and as I think we all know, like the closer people, anyone, closer we get to sort of real food, the happier people are, and the more you can express your cultural differences and how it truly is to be American, and your ancestors. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're not more American because of junk food.
No.
We're less American because of junk
We're
food.
bigger
It's-
Americans because of junk food.
What types of recipes are these?
So the principal recipes. So you'd
Principal.
take like a basic stew or soup, and it's interesting. Like most people that have soup's pretty underrated. It's like actually an amazing thing, but like it's pretty underrated. And if you look at how technically most of it's made for you, it's all in like massive steam jacketed vessels. So there's never any caramelization. So it's just boiled stuff.
Yeah.
So soup, I don't know if you've noticed, if you have soup, it all kind of tastes a bit the same because it's kind of like making smoothies. But like you make a proper soup out of nothing, like it tastes delicious, texturally, flavor, depth of flavor. So you kind of open these worlds of like, say, soups, stews, like mothership tomato sauces. So you got the capacity to sort of duck and dive around different preferences. Taking like, how do you make like salad taste good? Because everyone thinks it's boring and crap, right? So it's just, you just kind of go through these principles and give them the principles, and then try and give them recipes that fit in. Like yesterday, I was cooking in Bellflower School in LA. That was our first kind of guinea pig school, and we were a bunch of kids, and we just did a stir fry in sort of like, I don't know, 12, 13 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's chop up veg. It doesn't matter what veg it is.
It's a lot of
Chop it
single
up.
pot stuff.
Yeah, just like hot pan, screaming hot, some chopped up veg, rattle and roll, various proteins. You make the kind of, let's call it a glaze.
Yeah.
But, and then noodles in there, and then they got a dinner.
Yeah.
2 plates of food. And so we, like I don't know the exact stats in the US, but it's going to be the same or worse. Like it's something like 75% of kids go home from high school to an empty house. We call them latch door kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So mum and dad are working. So like, again, like if you're looking at child health and the National Measurement Program and child, obesity and diabetes, and then you're looking at kids coming home to an empty home, like this is
It all
it's like,
makes-
okay,
like
so
it-
2 + 2 equals like
Yeah.
teach them how to cook at school.
Yeah.
So yeah, from my point of view, like 10 skills or 10 recipes to save your life, it is about making kids streetwise about food.
I love that. I always find that like some of the best meals are just a protein, some veggies, and like maybe a little bit of rice or a little bit of pasta or whatever.
Yeah.
But like knowing portion size as
Big
well.
time, man. I mean, like it's like super. I mean, interestingly, like 10 years ago or so, like I wrote one of those books about nutrition, like superfood. So it's a really good book, and it's. I didn't want to be one of those authors because there was loads, a bit like the kind of TikTok vibe now. You get people spouting shit and they don't know what they're talking about.
For sure.
And so I actually did Fridays for 2 years and went to university and got got qualified as a nutritionist.
Okay,
He's doing that right now, kind of.
Yeah.
Changed my life. My whole business changed structure because of it. And I realized that like just being good randomly isn't like we created structures. So we always, I mean, we still write indulgent recipes that are naughty, right? But like
You gotta have
the
fun,
random's
too.
got back in my, we'll always do the right proportion of healthy, everyday, and indulgent.
Yeah.
And celebrate all of them.
You got to treat yourself, otherwise you're gonna
Totally. But like that, a lot of people don't realize that a portion of veg is 80 grams, so it's like a little handful. People don't realize that fresh veg is as good as frozen. Like legitimately, if anything, the frozen could be better than the fresh.
Yeah, because they freeze it right away.
100%. And that 30 grams of dried fruit or veggies counts as a portion. Like, so you start thinking a bit like what you were saying, like kind of like it's quite cool to be modular actually, which the kids love, like a painter's palette. And you start learning about polyphenols, which is like the next kind of like bit of exciting world. And I'm sure you're all over this anyway, but like polyphenols in fruit and veggies. So polyphenols are antioxidants, phytonutrients. These are these are colors. So eat the rainbow is real.
Yeah.
Like if it's all brown, like, you know, and like doesn't mean don't have it. Like have it, but like if you're doing it every day, welcome cancer.
Yeah.
You know, so I think like, you know, if you're looking at color, so it's a bit like melanin in skin, right? So it's like the plant's way of protecting it from animals and the rays of the sun. And these antioxidants roam around your body, like destroying rogue cells, and you know, full of nutrients, vitamins, and fiber. And so you start. I mean, like, so in my weird world, and I know I'm weird, but I love being weird. Like when when I see food, like I see food, but I also see sort of like little kind of what are the test tubes of like chemistry?
Yeah.
And like we don't. Nutrition's good, but it's not. There's so much we don't know.
Yeah.
But what your body needs is variation.
For sure.
And you can get onto weighing stuff or counting stuff. Just forget it. Like just
That could drive
search,
you crazy.
Search
too.
color.
Yeah.
And that kind of idea of a painter's palette, and like the Korean food, right? And they get it right. I went out to one of the blue zones where Koreans live the longest, sort of centenarians and stuff. You know, people that live over 100. Jeju Island, and like if you look at the average plate, it's just a patchwork quilt of color, and then some badass little prawn or like pork dish. But, like all the ratios are like right.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah. But pushing veg, but still celebrating the kind of the proteins and the carbs for sure. But
and I think like intention is something, you know, that needs to be taught as well. Just, I mean, once you learn a little bit about intention and macros and nutrients and stuff, then you kind of, when you're eating, it's like it all kind of makes sense, you know, like my intention is to eat a little bit of protein and make sure my percentage, like the amount is correct and I'm not overdoing one thing, just kind of balance of it all, you know.
But just that, if you think of your body being like a dry sponge, and it's just wanting to soak up like variation.
Give it
and
a
I think
little bit of.
I mean, you can learn everything that I've learned and you've learned, but just like, I think that's the just color, and like it's amazing
to learn how to simplify it.
Yeah, because if you look at the average Brit or average American, like, and the only everything that we're studying in nutrition is all based on bad data that is made useful by equations that make bad useful. Right, the only pure data that's always right is basket data, like the supermarkets and the government know exactly what we're buying, right? And you can buy access to it if you want, and it's a really bad prognosis for future. That basket data will tell you very accurately, you know, to a postcode when people are going to die, and of what. And when you're looking at tens of thousands of people, it's going to get it right quite regularly, and that's what your insurance is kind of calibrated on, and all those things. But you know. Basket data is saying it's like we're buying the same shit every week with about 4% variation.
Yeah.
So, you know, mixing it up, having fun with it, trying new things, going to different holes in the wall where they're giving you veggies and herbs that you'd never even tried before. That's defo the vibe.
I really appreciate you, like, you know, using everything you built to like kind of give back and help educate the youth and stuff. That's really awesome, man.
Thanks, man. I mean, in a sort of selfish way, it's the best thing I've ever done. I think it's helped me be a better person. It's really taught me to, like, I feel like I've had experiences, uncomfortable ones, but experiences that allow me to read like a story in the newspaper that might be sort of looking down on a scenario or being quite black and white about a scenario, and you feel there's another side to the story. And I think going back to the kind of pub, because I grew up in a pub. I think that working with young people and those things is definitely, and growing up in a pub has definitely, I think, helped me a lot in life.
I love that.
So I know you've got an event to get to pretty soon, and so I know we got to wrap up here in just a minute. But Usually towards the end, we like to sort of pose a question to our guest, and that is, I mean, you've had a pretty storied and quite literally legendary career thus far. Something tells me that you're not stopping anytime soon. If I could put a magic lantern on the table right now, genie pops out, and you can design what your world looks like, and perhaps the entire world looks like, but specifically for you, what your world looks like 10 years from now. What is that world?
Oh, right. I mean, I think other than the obvious sort of healthy family and all that stuff, I think interestingly, I can like if I go with my wife's vibe, I think living in Palm Springs for 4 months a year would be in there. She's very, very obsessed with that part of the world, and I think to bounce from one country to another would be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think to open a 15.2 in the US, I feel is something I have to do, and I think the lessons learned from that would be powerful, and start other conversations that are also powerful. And I think it's really needed right now. And I know I'm an expert in it, so I've got. It doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah.
But like, I know I've got stuff to offer, and I don't know whether I would quite like to do it in Las Vegas, which is going to sound really weird.
No, not at all, actually.
But I hooked up with a guy that's doing incredibly real things there, a guy called Chef Jeff. And he's done what I've done in the UK, and he's doing what I did in the UK. And he's an amazing human. And getting kids from the ghetto, gangbangers, lost young men, and he's doing great things with them already. And I would like to help tell his story, which is also my story.
What's Jeff's last name? Do you know?
I just call him Chef Jeff.
Chef Jeff. All right. Well,
Chef Jeff.
shout out Chef Jeff.
No, you'll find him. He's
Yeah.
easy to find.
Yeah.
He's legit. He's the real deal.
I'll look him up.
He's a powerful human.
Yeah.
With an incredible wife and daughter, and and a network of doers, and so I think that 15, which would be a contemporary restaurant in Las Vegas, the most sustainable restaurant in the most unsustainable city in America.
That's awesome.
Is a vibe that needs to be done. I'd quite like Netflix to do it, but to be fair, like, I've pitched to Netflix for years, and they've always passed. But Chef's Table, hopefully, if people enjoy that show, they might feel that I'm worthy of trusting me on this, because I know I can deliver it, for real. But I because I've done it before, I would love to do that.
I think that'd be really cool in Vegas. And you're thinking like in a casino, like an actual.
Not sure. I mean, I want it to be like a Pearl in Las Vegas, and good doesn't have to be like 200 covers. Yeah. Like, it's not Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like, this is for people that want to taste what hope looks like, and I know I can do it. But the pleasure that I've received, and Chef Jeff has received, from taking broken young men and women, and making them hungry, young, hopeful, useful contributors to society. I know it sounds like, I'll get the violin out, but it's real, and rehabilitation to a degree, certainly for 90% of our inmates, rehabilitation does work and can work, but it does require the community to take part in it, not just like a department of government. So I think that's the dream. I have a feeling it's going to happen.
Well, let us know any way we can help. But
well, listen,
that's somewhere I would definitely.
In fairness, let's keep this literally legit. We'll put this out on your podcast, which is gonna, your podcast is gonna kick ass. Someone from Netflix is gonna hear what I just said.
Yep.
Right. I'm not gonna pitch it to Netflix, right? So I'm gonna wait for the.
I'm gonna pitch it to Netflix. You ready? We're gonna do this.
I'm not gonna pitch it at all, and I'm gonna wait for the phone call, because I can promise you I can deliver it. Yeah. But I do think it would be an amazing show, an entertaining show, a heartfelt show.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, good times, man. But
Yeah.
I see living in the States probably like a third of the year, part of my next chapter.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mainly because my wife told me. And
Perfect.
if you want to know the key to a successful marriage, listen to your wife.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because she's right, you know.
Yeah,
Let's go.
yeah, she is.
That's right.
Yeah, she is. Well, Chef, thank you so much for being here today. I know you got a super packed schedule, but thank you for taking the time to be
Thank
here.
you. Yeah, it's lovely to meet you guys.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
You
thanks
too.
for inviting me on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, hopefully see you again sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe in
Let's
your
do
new
it.
spot in New York when I'm over next.
In New York or anywhere, and we I mean we'll exchange information off this, but
Yeah.
definitely would love to cook for you one day.
Yeah, I'd love that.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.